Okay, so we're going to be looking at chroma keying some footage that we shot in our green screen studio last week. So I'm going to grab one clip of footage here, which turned out pretty decent. I'll bring it down to this particular colored box, which means create new composition. So by dragging it down, dragging the clip down onto that particular icon between the folder and the rocket icons, is this one here, create a new composition. It creates a new composition based on the size and duration of that particular clip. I can change the name and other settings by going to composition settings, control or command K. This is a little monologue from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. So I'm going to call it Edge 01. We hit OK. First thing we do is we draw a mask. So the reason we do that is the green screen is lit quite well, but there's always little discrepancies. So you can see that's a good deal brighter near his head than over here. We're not going to be needing this bit of footage anyway. So what I'll do is, with the clip selected, I'll go up to the toolbar and hit the pen tool or G, and then just draw a really loose outline around our subject. It's going to give After Effects a bit of help, a little less to worry about. And one thing to bear in mind is that After Effects looks at a mask first before it renders it, and then it looks at an effect, and that's quite important because it means that when we apply Keylight and other effects, we'll only apply to the bit that you can see inside the mask. Okay, so let's have a look at the effects we're going to apply. So the first one is selective color. We drag that out. So what I'm going to do here is switch it from reds to greens. Cyan 100, magenta -100, yellow +100, black +100, and you can see that the green has got a lot more saturation. It's a good deal brighter compared to our subject. And then we type in Keylight, and we're looking for Keylight 1.2, but we drag out Keylight 1.2 onto our subject. Nothing happens. We use the eyedropper here, up near his head somewhere, and that will give us a good reference color. Now it's not perfect. If we go into screen matte, you'll see there's loads of noise and everything. So I'm going to be looking to try to get a decent cutout on his hair and the outline of his clothing. So I'll go into the screen matte drop down over here, and clip black and clip white are what I need to look at. So it's just a case of nudging it gently. This is not a recipe, this is a workflow. Different numbers will give you the same result depending on how it's been lit or how people are dressed and all that kind of thing. So again, it's just you're looking to see how it works around the edge of the subject. So it seems to be okay. I'll switch it back to intermediate result to give a better look. So the edge on the shoulders is pretty decent. There is a bit of green fringing in his hair, and that's fine. There is detail there, so that's okay. Now let's have a look. I think he moves around a bit, so I'll need to put some animate my mask. So select the clip, hit M on the keyboard to bring up the mask property, and just go back a little bit. Hit the stopwatch icon to create a new keyframe. Scrub forward a little. You can see how he leans to the left of the camera, and just select over that particular anchor point and move it, and that's cool there. So it moves, and then I know he steps to the right of the camera. That might need to be a little further. Then he goes to the right a bit, so it might be okay, but I'll just give it a bit more breathing room. Cool, that'll do for now. So again, it's just learning a workflow. It's not nothing that's going to end up in the Oscars. Cool, so I'm happy with that for now. I'm going to go back to my project window now. I'm going to duplicate the edge comp because it's got everything I need in it. Command or Control D, hit return to open it up to rename it, and I'm going to call this Core 01. I double click to get in there. So I've already got a good edge, but I want to make sure that everything is good in the core, so I can cut that back a bit. Now sometimes you might feel it's a bit unnecessary, but if you can get it one layer with a good cutout on the hair and the edge of your subject, there might be blobs or bits which get cut out in the middle, and that's okay because this one with the core is not going to have those cuts or holes or whatever in the middle, but the edge is going to be a lot sharper. But you mix the two of them together in another composition, and it's all going to look good. So let's go into the screen matte effect again, and we'll just change the clip black so it starts to shrink the mask quite a lot. You can see we've lost a lot of detail in the hair, and that's okay because we've already got the edge taken care of. So it's just a case of really almost aggressive, I think might be the word, but you can see it looks like he's completely cut his hair off. So if we go up here to this little FX icon beside the Keylight, we can turn it on and off to see how it looks with and without the effect. And You can compare and contrast by hitting the snapshot icon down here, make your change, and then look at the view snapshot. You can see that's really quite a big difference. So I think that's going to do the job for now. So I like to take the two of these and put them into a new composition, second one, and that should be okay as long as it says sequence layers. It's a single comp. Great, hit OK. And I'm going to call this spill suppression. I'm going to call it spill suppression 02. And I number them because that's the order in which they go. We're going to put this into a third composition later. So I like to have edge on the bottom, core on the top. So with nothing selected, I right click down here, go to new adjustment layer, and then up in my effects panel I'll type advanced spill suppressor. You don't even need to type the whole thing, just part of it, and then drag that onto my adjustment layer. You look around his hair and everything. Let's turn it on and turn it off just to check. You can see it just gets rid of the hair, but it gives us that bit of detail. You can scrub forward to see how it looks, because there's a few sort of key, I don't think is the right word, but there's a couple of sort of moments where I wanted to get the hair properly cut out, so it seemed to be alright there. And there, a little fuzz, but see how it looks. We can always come back and try to fix it. This is a workflow, it's not a recipe. The figures and numbers and effect settings that work on this particular clip will need to be changed for another piece of footage. Okay, so I'll take spill suppression 2, I'll bring that into the third clip, and I'll call this one main. So command and control K, I'm just going to call it main. This would be like the final one, that's 03. Now if you want to see where everything, all these pre-comps and everything kind of feed into each other, if you hit tab on the keyboard, it brings up what's called the flowchart. Now by default it has it going from right to left, which is backwards, which is kind of weird for me. I don't think that makes any sense. So I'll hit flow left to right, and there we go. Core 1 and edge 1 feed into spill suppression 2, and that feeds into main 3. So I can jump between them quite quickly and easily by navigating through the arrows. Really useful way to speed up your work. Okay, so I've got I can put anything in the background there now, such as an earth map or some sky and clouds, an animation grid. Now it can be anything, you know, and sometimes, you know, say for something like this, I usually tend to blur it out. So I have this other image here, which is relevant. Always Sunny in Philadelphia wallpaper. Now it looks a bit crazy. Imagine this is a talking head interview with somebody talking about the show. It'd be quite distracting to have that in the background. I love how garish it is, you know. And if we just type in fast box blur into the effects presets, drop it in onto the background wallpaper, we can blur it out. Bye. Nice one. Put on the wrong guy, the wrong layer. So I'll cut that, I'll put it onto the wallpaper instead. I may want to go back in and try to maybe get the edge looking a little fresher, a little more subtle. So you can change the softness ever so slightly, so 0.3 might be a good starting point. Again, all this has to be subtle rather than harsh, so it's looking better. You can add a choker if you want, not always recommended. Sometimes it can just get rid of all the detail that you've tried to keep. Okay, so it's got quite a good bit of detail in the hair. It's not fizzing or boiling, there doesn't seem to be much noise, which is great. Now one thing I'm not so keen on is this kind of dark edge here. So I've duplicated my spill suppression clip and I've called it lightwrap 2. And what I'm going to do here is just show that tiny edge, the difference between the core and the edge keys. So it's really quite simple. I'm just going to track mat edge to core. That's it. Okay, and as you can see, it's literally the difference between the two, and it's inverted the alpha mat. Okay, otherwise it would look like that, which is basically the core minus the edge, and this is the edge minus the core. And then we have the adjustment layer on top with the advanced spill suppressor. So I'm going to take the light wrap comp, bring that in, put it on the bottom, turn it off, and duplicate my background layer, bring it to the top, so I won't be able to see anything. I'm going to use the light wrap composition as the alpha mat on the wallpaper or background layer. Boom. You can see it's looking a little squinky there, but this is what it looks like. Alright, so there's spill suppression. Now I'm not going to keep it like that because it's a little off. So what I'll do is change the transfer mode from normal to soft light. Brings it back in. Another way we can do that is forget about the light wrap comp and forget about duplicate.
there is an effect called lightwrap. Okay, so I'll apply the lightwrap effect, which more or less works along the same lines. So I'll lightwrap, drag it out to our spill suppression layer, and I want it to look at the background, which in this case is the wallpaper. I'm going to make it look at the effects and masks, so it looks at it because there's a bit of blur in there, otherwise it would ignore the blur. And it sits over the top. So I can turn the effect on and off. You can see how it looks. It's actually cutting quite a lot out. It looks getting rid of a lot of the detail in the hair. So I change it from screen to over, and I change the width back to like 3 and blend with original. I change that a bit so it's not too harsh. Try 50. Subtle is always key with this sort of thing. So take a snapshot, turn off the effect, turn the blur layer back on, the different light wrap version back on, compare and contrast. So that's how it used to look. That's how it looks now. Interesting. I think I prefer doing it that way, but yeah, whatever works. Again, that's just a bit of polish over the top. So great stuff. So that's pretty much the best workflow that I've found to get a decent key from something lit on a green screen. And again, it comes down to a whole lot of other essential factors, like keeping your subject a good 2 meters away from the green screen, lighting the green screen as well as lighting the subject, and the more lights you have, the better. And this one was pretty easy to do. Now, we did do a few others in class where, you know, people were wearing deliberately the wrong color clothes, really messy hair, all that kind of thing, just to show how difficult it can be to try to cut it out. But, you know, again, if you can prepare well on the shoot, you'll find the post-production process so much easier. And remember, you can't always fix it in post. What might take you 15 minutes to sort out on the day of the shoot could take 3 days to sort out in post-production. So if you can get it done there and then while you're recording and get it done in camera, it's going to stand to you by giving you a lot more time to do better work at a later stage. Alright, so that's it for this one, and leave you to it. See you in the next one.